And continuing from the last movie, we can go and look at a few other things. Let's go and paste these commands into here. All the constraints. These are all the constraints that we created in the show table because I've got the where clause in there. Let's comment that out. Well, delete it, run it again. Then we'll see all the constraints on all tables. Again, this needs to be user to display the show table. So let's just change this. User constraints. There's all the constraints for the shows table. See the different table names, different constraint names, foreign key, primary key, and we also can get access to the columns within the constraints. This is just with the supporting act table. To find the names of these views, for instance, all of the table views, there's a column called table name in a table called dictionary that if you have the proper access, you can access all these table names. And obviously I don't have the proper access. It requires a special privilege that is generally not given to application users, but generally only to DBAs or performance tuners, people like that. It's called select catalog role. And let's run this. We're not going to worry about select catalog role for now, although we might need it later on. So what we'll do is we'll say grant select catalog role to shows, and it runs. And I'm going to copy this out to here. I'm going to go to my script file so we can preserve it for you, and this needs to be as privileged user. Shows is not, and we can go back. In fact, what I also want to do is change all these so that when you get this script, it's actually going to make sense of what's in this movie. Now I'm going to quickly go back to here, and I'm going to go to the shows user. I'm going to run this query again, and it still doesn't give me a result. Okay, because I'm not a DBA. So let's try this. There you go. So you're seeing the security in action. Shows user has access to user views, even with the select catalog role. You can grant it DBA access by granting it a DBA privilege, which we don't want to do. It's not a DBA. So additionally, if you go to my blog, you will find groups of queries. We go onto the web, on this particular page. Access all DBA tables, which you can change to user tables or all tables. And here I've added columns. What I've actually done is I've joined them together. Do not worry about joins yet, we'll get to them later in this course. In this particular query here, I've added in formatting for SQL+. So if I were to take this query, and let's say, I have to make changes to it, and I can't just go to SQL+, and well, I can if I use the DBA thing. I'm not going to show the right stuff. Connect shows at SI. Right click. This gives me all the information that's in DBA tables that shows user has access to, which really is rather meaningless at this point. Let's go to the script file. I'm just going to change this quickly to user. In fact, this is actually constraints. This is just the constraints. In SQL+, with its formatting, all these set and column commands, right click again, and this just gives me the constraint information in the shows table, formatted so I can read it. If I go further down, and let's find something a little bit more interesting, such as constraints joined onto constraint columns. Let's copy and paste this, and let's go and put this one into SQL Developer. And because we're logged in as shows, I'll change this to user, otherwise we'll get all sorts of DBA stuff that we're not really interested in. And I don't want to restrict anything, just hit return. The SQL developer does all the formatting for you. Here you can see the show's owner schema. The table is called act. Primary key on there, that's the name of the constraint, and that's the act ID column inside the constraint. So I'm joining the information together. Let's go and look at something a little bit more interesting. Shows owner, supporting act. Primary key has 2 columns, and there's the difference, and there even gives you the sequence of the columns inside the key. So accessing metadata is quite important not only for developers but also for DBAs, for anybody using an Oracle database.